Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pod Stallions. My name is Brian, and with me, as always, is my friend Jason Lenzi.
Hello, everyone.
And we've got a special guest in the form of actor, comedian, writer, and host of the Monster Party podcast, Matt Weinhold. How are you?
Hi there. And just to be clear, because they'll yell at me, I'm one of the hosts.
Oh, yeah, I meant to say co-host. Did I say host?
No, that's all right.
All
I don't want to get letters because my co-hosts are very old, so they will send
Yeah.
letters.
They'll lick that stamp.
They'll
Eh?
they'll
That's
send
not
a
what you-
parchment.
That's not what you told me. You told me you hosted the whole show by yourself.
Oh, here we go.
And
All
did
right.
all the-
Well, now it's gonna wind up in variety.
And did
Thanks, Jason.
did all the voices, the different
Yeah, that's
voices.
right. That's right. I'm Phil Hendry.
I couldn't believe you're muttering those other jerks before we start taping.
I know. It's just I get it out and then I can love them.
Right. You're just venting. You're passionate.
Yeah.
Our subject for this episode is something very near and dear to my heart and growing up, and that is Canadian cinema. For the purposes of this episode, and especially because I'm the only Canadian on this table, I'm going to limit it to mainly genre pictures, is what we're going to go through.
Yeah.
Or what we call Conexploitation, the era where a tax shelter was created to increase the film business. And of course, just like in Australia, if you've ever seen that wonderful documentary, This Ain't Hollywood, the the Canadian cinema just started making cheapo slasher movies with American stars.
God
And
bless 'em.
yep. And there's a lot of good in that bad, and there's a lot of really, really terrible ideas. But what we wanted to do was celebrate the ones we loved and then talk about the ones we hate. And I'm positive that my list is the longest of hate because of Canadian content laws and the way that, like, hey, this was made in Canada. We can play this movie, once a day.
Right.
And it just, oh God. But without further ado, I would like to talk about one of our favorite Canadian films. Does anyone want to go first?
Well,
I think Jason, I think you should.
I should. Oh, me, really? Okay. Okay. Well, this is in no particular order,
Mhm.
but because I've been thinking about it.
Sorry,
I've
one
been-
thing. I think the rules should state if somebody else picks something you had, just join in.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
I've talked about this film several times on the podcast. Matt is familiar with it. I think, Brian, I'm pretty sure you've seen it as well. And I recommended it to somebody, again, just recently, who had never heard of it and never seen it. And I then watched it again. And it's from, I want to say 2008 or so. And it's a film called Pontypool.
Pontypool.
Right.
And it is based on, I believe it's based on a book, which then got made into a radio play,
Yes.
and then got made into a film. And Stephen McHattie is the lead, and he's one of those guys that you've seen in a million things. Just a
Right.
incredible character face, great character actor. Just a face made for movies, and especially villainy. Probably best known to a lot of listeners as the original Night Owl in the Watchmen film. He's in that, and he's been in loads of stuff. He was actually in Seinfeld. There was an arc in Seinfeld where he was Elaine's therapist, and
Oh
somehow
yeah.
everything. So, but basically, the gist of the book and the story is that there is a virus that's being transmitted via language, and it's turning people into, well, I don't want to use the word zombies, but
Homicidal maniacs.
homicidal maniacs. Yeah, and the film takes place in a radio station. It's the middle of winter. They're kind of isolated. It's just a handful of characters. He's the DJ, and he's got a producer, a woman who's the producer, and then their little engineer person. And they keep getting these calls talking about these outbreaks of violence that are happening, and it's got a sense of dread throughout.
From the very beginning, yeah.
From the very beginning, and you're just going, what the hell is going on? And on top of which, when it does start to kind of play out and you realize what this virus is, how it's being transmitted, and how it's sort of happening, it gets really scary. But it's just a gem of a movie. It's just one of those, I've seen it half a dozen times, and the guy who directed it,
Bruce McDonald.
Yes, who did what's the famous one? Not Hard Bodies on
Hardcore Logo.
Yes.
Yeah, which is absolutely one of my favorite Canadian films.
And he hasn't done much. I mean, if you look him up, he did a sort of sequel to this, but it's not really related. Just some of the same actors, and I think it's called
Dreamland, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And
there's also a weird sequel to Hardcore Logo that isn't
that he did.
I don't know if he did it or somebody took the name.
Okay.
I certainly hope. I certainly hope. Maybe I don't. Oh yeah, he did do Hardcore Logo too. Oh yeah.
It's just one of those. It's just a gem in the sense of I can't think of anything to compare it to.
Yeah.
Like the notion that, there was a play. What was the play? Rhinoceros from back in the
Right.
70s, where people were turning into rhinoceroses, or they were, because of the way how they were speaking or however it was being transmitted. There's a bit of a zombie aspect to this too, but it's just kind of unsettling. Even when he's just on the phone talking to someone, in a location where something bad is happening, as the call starts to unfold, you just get more and more creeped out by what is going on.
Yeah. I mean, I love this movie, and I guess the script and the original book were written by the same person, Tony Burgess, and his novel was Pontypool Changes Everything. And one of the things that I think is so amazing about this is that it starts as a book, they do a radio play, and to make something into a film and have it be visually exciting, they don't really change too much of how everything unfolds. It is mostly seen through or heard through this radio station.
Yeah.
And Stephen McHattie is getting these reports coming in, and the very beginning of the film starts with him doing this strange monologue, which is which may or may not be linked to what eventually happens in the film. But there's so many interesting ideas, and as you were saying, Jason, the way that the virus is transmitted is, I think, so original, and it's a very strong movie because to have Stephen McHattie does an amazing job of just holding this whole thing together.
Yeah.
And being that that planet that that sun that you orbit, and I love this movie.
And he's freaking out too. Like as it starts to unfold, it's written and played very real, where it's like, wait, what is going on? Because this is bullshit. Whatever this is, somebody's messing with something. This is ridiculous. And he sort of has this immediate reaction to it, that this doesn't make any sense. I got to get out of here. This is crazy. I'm leaving right now. And it all starts to kind of go sideways. And like I said, I just rewatched it again the other night. I think it's on Shudder, for those of us that have it here or whatever. I don't know if you have it over there, Brian, but it's just a it sucks you in, and like you say, to have one location really, and it never drags. Like the plot continues to move forward as it goes, and he kind of becomes the detective in a way to figure out how to do this, how to sort of combat this.
Well, and the fact that he is this down on his luck shock jock, and that's
Right.
where we start the film, where he's now in this new market, and he's not really too happy about his life, and he's bitter and kind of begrudgingly doing his job, and then this happens, and he has to take a role of authority, and fighting with that, and then accepting that, and yeah, I mean, it works on so many levels, and again, great performances and some really shocking things. The way that you see these people who are taken over by the virus and how they behave is also very original. I love it.
And it's got a weird occasional thread of dark humor in it too. There are things where suddenly you're going, well, that came out of nowhere, and you find yourself kind of giggling at it.
Right.
I can't recommend it enough. I know we've talked about it before on the show, and Brian, I know you saw it way back.
Yeah, I haven't actually revisited it in years, and I probably should.
Yeah, it's a big thumbs up from me.
Yeah, Bruce McDonald has made quite a few Canadian films since then, but yeah, he's.
I mean, but I mean, some of the stuff I've seen, it just didn't quite grab me. This thing did. This is a very special.
Oh yeah, no, that it's and it's also he's also known for more like comedies as well. So
right,
yeah, maybe
TV stuff too. Didn't he do a lot of TV stuff? Maybe.
Yeah, he's done a little bit of television.
Yeah. So there you go. Try to top that, Crime Fighters.
Crime Fighters.
Good one.
That's my first
epic burn. I'm gonna go because I've got one I don't want anyone else to take, and that is The Changeling.
Oh my God! Well, that's on my list. Sure.
I knew it was on someone's list. It's
wow.
Too good.
One of the greatest ghost story films.
And I want to put it under an umbrella for me, or a preface is that I freaking hate ghost movies. Like
really?
I do not like them. It's the same problem I have with magic. The rules aren't there. And for me to accept a universe, I need rules and boundaries, apparently.
Wow, you sound like a lot of fun.
No, that was probably. I guess we won't get a second date, eh?
So you mean?
So Willy Wonka was like, "What is this bullshit?"
Yeah,
that's not how they make chocolate.
You can't lick wallpaper. Wait a minute. So you're saying because of you kind of have a hard time.
This is a rope a dope.
So but I mean you're saying that it's if it's something that you don't quite buy into, it's harder for you to let go.
Yeah, and I find a lot of what I'm trying to say is I don't like lazy writing.
Okay.
And magic is like the easiest, laziest way to do things.
Okay.
Because you can always just Deus Ex Machina things. And I think ghosts are a little bit like what are the rules? We know the rules of a vampire. We know the rules of a werewolf. But ghosts, well, in certain regards, I understand you can write anything you want and make it tangible in that world, but ghosts are ethereal. What's the limit? What can they do? And I don't know. It's one of those things that I'm not a big fan of, and for whatever reason, I'm not a big ghost story fan, unless that delightful Casper is involved. But
he's something, isn't he?
He is friendly.
He's so sweet. But it's just one of those things where it's like, so The Changeling for me is significant because it's the one ghost story I really dig. I think it's great.
Now this is George C. Scott.
Known for getting hit in the groin with a football.
Right.
And yelling at porno.
Yeah.
Right. And that's
the funniest scene ever, isn't
it? Is it like 70? Is it like 77 or 78 or something?
It is 1980.
Yeah,
1980. Okay.
And it's got your guy in it, Mr. John Colicos.
Ooh, yeah.
Love John Colicos.
Yeah, and it was shot in Vancouver and in Victoria. playing Seattle. No one noticed.
Okay.
And it's but it's a tight film. It's a good film.
Yeah,
It's a tight film. It's also a crime mystery too. So
Mhm.
even if you're not really all that interested in the ghost story, it's an interesting plot
You
when
know
it comes
what?
to
You
it's
just
kind
you
of
just
a who done it.
Yeah, and you know what, I didn't think of that, and you're 100% right. That's why I like that movie.
interesting.
All right.
It's I
Good
haven't
night,
seen it in a
everybody.
long time, but I
I
remember
think we've had a breakthrough.
the thing that sticks out for me is the bouncing ball.
The
Like
ball.
I
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it's great.
that is disturbing. Like that is just creepy.
Okay, this is not a Canadian film as far as I know, but I'm just curious. Have you seen The Innocents, which is
Oh,
based on Turn of the Screw,
yeah,
Henry
with
James?
Deborah Kerr and
Yes, yeah.
yeah,
And yeah,
and
I'm
Peter
blanking on
Wing
his name.
and Peter, our
Peter
beloved
Wingard. Yes,
Peter
Peter
Wingard.
Wingard.
Yes.
And if you've never seen that, see, my thing with, I think I'm with you. I think I understand what you're talking about with the ghost thing because I also put that on fantasy. Like fantasy drives me crazy if
Oh
it's,
yeah.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
but there are exceptions. I mean, I loved the Lord of the Ring movies. I thought that was great because it's thought out. It's like the rules are set up, so you
Same
understand what's
same
happening.
here. I liked that, and I don't really love fantasy because it involves so much magic. But that really had a grounded approach,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
worked for me. I was hooked. Yeah.
But The Innocents is another, that's a movie too where like for me ghost stories work when you hit the mood just right. You keep the plot moving. It's not like, I know people say, well, I love the atmosphere all through the movie, but if it's just atmosphere, that can get tiresome. But I would say that the ghost movies that are out there that are, I think, on like the top of the heap, you've got The Haunting, the original Haunting. The
Mhm.
Yeah.
Innocents is, I think, is one of the greatest ghost story films ever made because it's genuinely frightening.
Oh
The
wow.
images in it are scary as hell.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
It
then
that.
I would throw in Legend of Hell House too because you can't
Oh
beat Matt.
yeah. That's a Matheson.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like.
But
I
is
like.
the Innocents, is that the first adaptation of the James story?
I'm not sure. I know that after that film, they did one from there's one I'm trying to remember the night something. It's the one with Brando where you get to see what happened before
Oh, the Nightcomers.
the Nightcomers. That's it. Yeah, and that's like kind of a prequel to Turn of the
Now,
Screw.
see, I'm sorry, I was gonna make a filthy joke about
Go ahead.
Nightcomer. No, I was gonna say I happen to be one of the rare people who's a nightcomer and a daycomer, is what I was gonna say.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, there's a really cool ghost station around here called Old Comer.
Old Comer. That's rare.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's when you're a little backed up.
that is also true. Look that up.
Things to do in Canada.
So wait, is that a Canadian? That is not a Canadian film.
That is not a Canadian film, but when when you say you don't like ghosts, to me I think a lot of this too is we don't like bad movies. We like good movies. We like good stories, and I think no matter what the plot line or whether you're using a ghost or a werewolf or what have you or zombies, if it's good, if you bring something new to the game or you do something in such a loving way that it transcends whatever problems it could have, um, then you got a good film. I mean, and so like I think ghosts are about as legitimate as anything else, vampire or
I won't
werewolf
put
or
anyone down that that's their taste, but I just, for me, the supernatural, and I also just don't like satanic movies either for some reason.
okay,
Wow.
all right,
Okay, we're learning a lot. So what?
wow.
Uh,
So
so Matt,
horror is pretty much out, right?
yeah. So pretty
What
much
do you
anything
like?
horror, ghost, werewolf,
So
Dracula.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is like the
It's
scariest film
terrifying.
that you've seen.
Cut all
Okay,
that
yeah.
out for Brian. So Matt, what would be your first Canadian flick then?
Well, now this is a little more recent. This is 2008.
Okay.
And it is a French-Canadian production.
Okay.
And it's called Martyrs.
Oh
And
my God.
it is super fucked up and absolutely brilliant.
Oh.
Now,
Oh my God. Oh
basically, this is about a woman who is seeking revenge against these people who abducted and tortured her when she was a child.
Jesus.
And she goes after them, and then there are a lot of then it goes crazy from there. Like, there are a lot of twists and turns. I don't want to give anything away, but this movie has been there are a lot of people that, let's say, that don't like this at all because there is a lot of very extreme violence, to the point where some people have said it's torture porn. It is not torture porn because the violence in the movie is absolutely necessary to tell the story. It's almost the point of the story. And the reason for the violence when you get to the end is so profound and heady for a horror movie that you think is going in maybe another direction. I just love it. They tried to,
Wow.
well, they did do a remake, and I forget what year that was, an American remake that was awful. But the original, the 2008 French Canadian one, is great. Directed by Pascal. Maybe you can help me with this. Laguerre.
Sorry,
Longueur?
I have to
You don't
look
know
at
your.
it.
Yeah.
I was reading. I was reading the description of this because I was not familiar with it.
Who went to jail right after the film came out because
Did he really?
Laguerre. I would say
kidding.
Laguerre.
Laguerre.
Yeah.
See, I learned things here.
Yeah.
Pascal Laguerre.
that is a I've seen it, and I will say this about it: very well done, very well done. I wouldn't be critical of it in that I don't think it's a bad film. It's one of those movies like did you ever hear of a film Irreversible, the Casper Noé film with Monica Bellucci? Monica Bellucci. Um,
I don't know this one.
No, but I've thought of Monica Bellucci before.
Oh yeah. Well,
I thought of her just now.
Nice.
Nice.
The film, the narrative runs backwards basically, but there is a sexual assault scene in the film that goes on for 2 or 3 minutes of Monica Bellucci, and it is brutal. So certain things I can say that, like, I saw it. I'm glad that I saw it. I never need to see it again. Martyrs is one of those movies that, and this is a credit to how extreme the film is. And you're right, it does
Because the French had problems with it.
Well, yeah.
So it's not on the rewatchability of, Brown Bunny is what you're saying.
Right. Well, at least
wow, that's a toss-up.
if you can fast forward to the end of the Brown Bunny, that's maybe the best. But,
yeah.
But no, but he did,
Which is the only part I've seen.
But that film was, he did get into some hot water for that film, and
people walked out, and
Yeah.
there were a lot of bad reviews, and
yeah, but I think there were sort of it's kind of, I think he ran into some of the trouble like that. What's that one that's just horrific? Not that
New
it's
or
not
old?
called. It's not called a Turkish a film.
The Serbian film.
Serbian film. It's like something like that where you just.
But this is way better. This is in a whole nother league than
Yeah,
that. This is a movie with ideas. This is a movie. It's dark as hell, but that's also what's great about it. And it's incredibly well directed, well acted.
Yeah, I didn't know that was.
Yeah,
it's Canadian. Okay.
And here's the thing too that always annoys me when we get into horror movies, and that is that people will go, "Oh my God!" They'll say the film is bad. Now I understand. For me, it's like I don't know. It's like Fleetwood Mac. I recognize Fleetwood Mac is a very talented group of musicians. I don't care for them. Okay.
Yeah.
And
I get
so if
you.
you
I feel you. I reach.
yeah, you know what I mean? So, if you don't like Martyrs because this kind of extreme, gore or whatever in a movie bothers you just way too much, that's fine. But you can't say that it's a bad movie because it is a horror movie.
No, it is not.
Horror movies should be horrible. They should
It
be.
is.
At least there should be a category that's okay where you can test the extremes of what a horror movie is. And
Let's
this
put it
one, I
this
would
way.
say, has a profound element in it.
It's
You bring up a good point. It's
committed.
Like,
it's committed.
Yeah. It's like beers. Like you can get into beer that there's certain beers where it's like I don't even want to finish this.
Right.
But people keep making this stuff, and it's like, yeah, I don't want to drink that, extra old shoe bitter you made, dude.
yeah. Brussels sprouts.
By the way,
I can't get away from a Brussels sprout.
Yeah.
And I'm the asshole.
Someone needs to mock up a new poster for Martyrs and have these quotes on it as the reviews. It's like Fleetwood Mac. I appreciate they're a band, but I don't need to ever hear them again. And it's like certain beers that they keep making them.
Yeah, but under when you quote my name, you have to write in parentheses has not seen the film.
Even better, I think.
Wow. Well, you came out the gate with a tough one, man. That's
a doozy.
That
is I'm telling, but it's one of my favorite horror movies.
Wow.
Interesting.
That is. I knew you.
My wife loved it too.
Well, that's another story altogether. But I did. I don't think I knew that it was that high on your list.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Well,
and once again, I'm gonna look like the country bumpkin, the country mouse in this because I've just been trash and junk food.
So wait a minute. Are you next? Are you next,
Brian? No, it's you, man.
Oh, it's me.
Not you.
Oh gosh. Oh gosh. I got to think of something really light now.
Yeah, you goddamn better.
Well,
is there did Canada do a Fievel movie or something?
What's a good?
Yeah, I'll get to that.
Did they do Moomins? Did the Canadians do Moomins? Did they make it the Moomin movies? Maybe that's a good one. Okay, so I'm gonna pick one. A lot of mine are gonna be. Listen, we could sit here and just do David Cronenberg, till the cows come home. And so
can we all agree that all of those are because that's almost like an unnecessary conversation about how great.
Oh yeah. Look, I'm gonna take the beer dispense. I like his lagers. I don't like his stouts.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. But you know what? I'm not going to go there because I do like a lot of his stuff, and I respect the dude.
Hold on. We need to clarify. We need to clarify which are the lagers and which are the.
No, we don't. I'll let you know.
Okay.
But
so, what's your movie?
Pardon? No, I was.
Jason. What's your movie?
Jason, sorry.
Okay, so mine is a film, and I think this is about 2000 or so, called Ginger Snaps.
That's not
on my list. I was going to do that next. Jason,
really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a Canadian classic.
Werewolf flick. Two young girls. Great. I forget. I think one gets maybe bitten before the other one or something. I forget exactly how it goes, but it's got such a mood to it, and the two leads are so good. It's almost like you don't know that you wouldn't think they're actors. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's a very good observation.
Very natural.
Very.
I remember
Emily
that.
Perkins and Catherine Isabel.
Yeah, I was there not only because of the buzz in Canada, but because I've had a lifelong thing for Mimi Rogers.
Well, who has
Mimi Rogers? See, I forgot.
Oh, she's mine.
Yeah, I forgot. Wow. Yeah. Well, I think we can all safely say that we've all had.
I have a human-sized pillow of
thing for Mimi Rogers.
Oh, really? I have one of Vern Troyer.
But it's what's interesting about that movie is that it's already God, 20 some years old. But it's still kind of held up as even if you see it like even if you come across like great werewolf, like the best werewolf movies ever made or whatever, it's always up there and it holds up.
Absolutely.
It's really, if you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. And yes, there's a I'm trying to be as delicate as I can about this as a man talking about a film about young coming of age type.
Do we have to go to a different gym than the girls?
But there's a an underlying metaphor, if you will.
Yes, there is.
Oh yes, yeah.
Do it as well.
Like a coming of age, becoming a woman.
Yeah, and the film was written by a woman.
Yeah. Yes. So, and I remember it being, I haven't seen it in a long time, but I don't recall it being like really graphic or really violent, but it's got a mood to it. And it's also kind of a one-off. Like, I don't know anything to
there were sequels.
Oh, no, they did a lot of sequels.
Oh yeah. We're in Canada. We need the money, right?
Yeah, they did a second one, but then they also did, I think it's the third one, where for some reason they go back to like the Wild Wild West or something, and it's the same characters, but now it's in the Wild West. It
was either that or 3D. Yeah. They had to figure something.
Right?
Are the leads in it?
Yeah.
Oh, they're in the sequels. See, I never even knew about.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you know what? I even enjoy those, but those are just fun. Whereas, Ginger Snaps is something altogether different. I think it's a classic, and I really agree with what you said, Jason, about when you watch it, even though it's 24 years old now, which is incredible, it doesn't feel that way at all. It feels like something modern and like that really holds up and still feels relevant.
Yeah. No, I'm overdue a rewatch. I think it's a great film, and it really holds up.
And it's so much better than Teen Wolf. It is. Yeah. It's my Teen Wolf
by a hair.
Is there some sort of camp that's fighting for Teen Wolf over this film?
I sure hope not. I hope no one's fighting for Teen Wolf.
Because that's a Canadian film, isn't it?
Not Teen Wolf.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
No. Even if it was, I would deny it.
Yeah. You can have it if you want. But...
Yeah, it's no Teen Wolf 2.
Was Teen Wolf 2 a Teen Wolf TOO?
You know what? I don't know.
I think it might have been.
But I remember they were selling bootleg copies of it at the pizza place by my high school.
Wow.
The one was like, yeah, we got Teen Wolf 2 and whatever else was out there, and I was like, yeah, I don't know.
In my day, we had porn, but okay.
It is ironic that Michael J. Fox is in the original, and Jason Bateman's in the sequel, and Justine Bateman played Michael J. Fox's sister on Family Ties.
Oh.
Coincidence?
Yes.
I don't think so.
I think not. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
Wasn't just Jason Bateman already had a sitcom by that time?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
it's your move. He was fine. Move. Yeah.
Was he on Silver Spoons before that, or am I crazy?
Was he? I don't know.
Yes, he was, and that was the spinoff. And by the way, you're wrong about Michael J. Fox's sister. It was Tina Yothers.
Sorry,
okay.
Tina Yothers, the good old
still
the
connection.
Yeah, I'm so happy that I get to do this next one, and it also lightens the mood, you guys.
All right.
Okay.
Strange Brew.
Oh,
well, come on.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not a perfect movie. It's
how dare you?
Definitely. Hear me out. And my friend's aunt is in it.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
my friend's aunt was the secretary that brought.
I was going to say, please tell me she's the secretary that gets the last jelly.
Yeah, that is her.
You're kidding me.
Oh yeah, I could take you to her house.
Oh my God.
Wow.
But
Oh.
anyway, it SCTV was so impactful for me growing up in Toronto, like, those early seasons, and I loved that it was in Canada, it was Canadian, and Bob and Doug was so awesome to me. And while we never got an SCTV movie, and we should have,
Right.
this and Going Berserk are sort of like, two, like, if we could somehow make one good movie out of this. But I love Strange Brew, and I also love the madness of the script, because it's really trying to give something. It's a remake of Hamlet, I believe.
It's Hamlet. It's
Yeah,
absolutely Hamlet.
and
Yeah.
having Max von Sydow, like Dave Thomas. I would always like to have locked Dave Thomas in a room with Dan Aykroyd and said, like, write a script,
Yeah.
because it would be this most unfilmable, bizarre, high concept movie that no one would understand.
Yeah.
And they just are kind of like two of the same kind, and I'm fascinated with it, because a lot of, like, Dave Thomas stuff just never went anywhere.
Yeah. All
'Cause
the
it's so
pilots.
strange.
Yeah. All the weird pilots he tried to do.
Yeah, Rocket Boy.
Yeah.
Uh,
They just don't quite go anywhere.
yeah, and I think Strange Brew is brilliant. Like, I think I know it was kind of a mixed reviewed film, and it kind of killed the career of the whole momentum of the movement. But I mean, it was a fad,
Which
you
I
know.
don't. Which I don't understand because, and this is what's weird about this, and I assume that it came out at the same time in Canada as it did in the U.S. But
Hmm.
that movie came out in '83. Okay, so I'm already aware of SCTV from, I don't know, '80, 81, whenever wherever it was airing in the U.S. I was aware of it and I was watching it, and so I knew who Bob and Doug were. They were already kind of a thing on this show, like when they would when and they only, people forget those sketches with them are only about 3 minutes long. They're never,
Right.
they're just kind of in and out.
Well, that was the joke, is
Well,
that
right, exactly,
they needed like
exactly.
2.5 minutes of Canadian content.
But it
That's
blew
So
right.
that,
up.
Yes.
It
yeah,
absolutely blew up, and I saw that like opening weekend. My dad took me to that, and I saw it 3 times in the theater.
me too.
Like I just ate that thing up, and
Yeah,
I thought one of the funniest, next to Holy Grail. I thought that was, well, this is the next, this is the
Wow.
next funny thing, because every scene was just silly and completely stupid, and relying on the two of them, because that was the most you got to see them together, because those sketches were so short. And the Star Wars connection with the the Luke, I'm your father, Luke, and all that
oh
stuff.
yeah.
Like, it was just, I freaking loved that movie. And I
I
knew it
love
by,
the older brother dynamic.
yeah,
That, like, he is so perfect.
constantly giving him shit, no matter what.
And yeah, and how submissive,
He does
like,
that when
Rick
he
Moranis
the,
is.
the hockey player. It's like, no, that's Gordy. No, he's not. He's a cop. He's a cop, and he recognizes you, and he's gonna, just, he's not even paying attention to what
Yeah,
Moran's saying. He's just giving him shit to try to scare him. It's
yeah.
brilliant.
It's just it's such a labor of love, and I know it didn't hit for everyone. And even I have to go, like, it's not a straight up year to year rewatch for me. It's more like a 2 or 3 year rewatch for
I
me.
don't
Yeah.
know. I guess it didn't.
And
It must not have done that well when it came out. Did it
it,
not?
it did well in Canada. It did kind of, like, just like, that was kind of the end,
Okay.
for the whole thing.
They were never my favorite characters on SCTV, but I
Yeah,
did like them,
yeah,
and I did like the movie. I don't think I got the same thing that you guys got out of it, but I did like it, and one of the things I really liked about it, I liked the attempt. I liked the approach. I liked the fact that they were going for this, and even if everything didn't exactly work for me, I applauded the effort.
yeah. What for me, it's basically the prototype for Saturday Night Live movies. Oh no, I guess Blues Brothers had already come out. But
Coneheads.
Yeah, no, Coneheads
which is a good movie.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like once you take those characters out of the environment, and SCTV was like an immersive reality.
Right. Yes.
It isn't like they're really kind of either going to sink or swim, and some of those movies do well, and some of them don't. And we all love It's Pat, I'm sure, but it's like one of those things where I think they basically swam, but the movie's weird.
But
And
even Blues Brothers, I mean, Blues Brothers is just, they're on a mission from God. They got to get the band back together. There's nothing to that film.
No.
I mean, there's nothing to it, and then a bunch of car chases, and then a gig at the end.
There's some fun things in it.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. I'm not bad mouthing the movie. I'm just saying that this has a plot where it gets, the fact that they're riffing on Hamlet.
Yeah.
Is kind of brilliant. Elsinore beer and
but because like Bob and Doug are basically Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, like they're not the protagonists.
Right.
It is a little bit I don't know, like the Three Stooges meet Robin Hood.
I think part of the charm is how committed they are. I mean, they are absolutely committed.
Oh yeah,
those two characters, and
for me, I mean, I will admit this was like a Canada proud moment.
Sure,
yeah,
I mean, it's something Canadian where we were, we had such fine cinema.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was you were really proud of Canadians who broke through.
Well, it's not. I do like the movie, so I can't really say that. I can't really say anything too negative about it at all.
That certainly swung us around from Martyrs a little bit. Got that taste out of our mouths. Something fun.
Weird analogy. Yeah.
So Matt, are you up next? Are you the guy?
Yeah, I am up. Yes, I am.
What do you got?
Well, guess what? I'm going to go fun. How about that?
Oh.
I'm going to go fun this time.
Okay.
This is a movie that I watched from 2010, and I watch it quite often. If I'm watching Pluto TV or something like that and it's on, I will stop and watch it because I just enjoy it. And a lot of it has to do with the two main stars, but the film is Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Great movie.
This is a fun. It's a horror comedy with a lot of heart, with lovable characters. You've got Tyler Labine and Alan Tudyk.
Alan Tudyk, you mean the king of all DC Comics adaptations?
Yes, that's right.
And he
is glory. Both of these guys are. Is it? I never know how to pronounce someone's name. Tyler Labine or
Labine?
Tyler Labine. I don't know.
Labine?
I'm not sure. Yeah. It might be Labine, but
what if it's Labine?
Labine. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah.
And Alan, both these guys, they're comic chemistry. They are a classic comedy team. And so the premise of this film is that these guys are just these lovable hillbilly guys who have bought this cabin, and it's going to be their little vacation place where they go and they fish and they just have a nice time. Nothing mean about these two. They're not in any way scary or anything like that. But through a weird set of circumstances, they come into contact with this group of kind of assholey college students who somehow get it in their heads that these guys are like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre family. And just weird events and things that they say lead them to believe this, and they get more and more freaked out by them because one of them tries to hit on this very attractive blonde in the group, and he's shy and he doesn't really have any game. He doesn't really know what to say, and so it all just comes out weird. And we've all been there, right? Come on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know not you, Casanova, but but so anyway, this premise then snowballs and gets more and more absurd and violent, and people start dying, but they're not murdered. It's just a shitty series of circumstances, and it's so funny and it's so clever, and they are so great together. And this movie was directed and written by Eli Craig, and I love it. I love it. If you haven't seen this movie, it's a joy.
It is. It's a lot of fun because it never they never go too far into parody kind of. They play it.
Yes.
They play it fairly real.
Yes, they do. And there's a lot of and there's a lot of circumstantial things, where it's like,
right.
It's just I know that you could almost call this movie, I know this looks bad, because that is really kind of the theme of the movie, is that they just are constantly getting into these situations where they just look like they may be maniacs.
It's a farce.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. It's a farce. Yeah.
Just like a Three's Company.
But entertaining and enjoyable. Although, John Ritter, whatever you think of Three's Company, that guy was committed, man.
Oh, he's a good actor.
He was.
Yeah.
He was. And actually a much better actor than he rarely
people give him
got
credit for, yeah.
He rarely
he rarely got those parts.
Yeah.
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 You ever see that what was that movie?
Well, that's a good one, man. I need to rewatch that. That's a fun
and you have not seen this.
I've seen it.
Oh, I've seen some of it, but I'm very aware of the concept of it. I don't know why I got pulled away off of it. But yeah, it was really kind of I know why.
You thought it had ghosts in it?
No, my wife associates Alan Tudyk with playing a serial killer in something, and doesn't really like him in everything. Yeah.
Doom Patrol?
I think he was in like a movie that she'd go to the theater to see, like one of those. Along Came a Spider. Was that it?
Oh, maybe. It's the next one of Morgan Freeman and yeah, but they replaced what's her name with somebody else.
Angelina Jolie or something. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it was Ashley Judd, and then I think when they did the next one, it was that woman who looks just like Julia Roberts, but I can never think of her name.
Julia Roberts?
Nope.
Nope.
Julia Roberts.
Sometimes the answer's right in front of you.
Yeah.
It's like when you're looking for your keys and someone says, "Did you look at your coat?" Oh my God!
They're in your hand.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good. Wow, that's good. Now I'm feeling bad that so many of mine are kind of dark.
No, I got us going. So
okay, all right.
Go dark.
All right. My next one is a zombie-ish kind of film called Blood Quantum.
I don't know this.
And this is the gist of it is natives. Let's see. The dead are coming back to life, and almost all of Earth's population are decimated due to a zombie virus, except for the isolated Macamic reserve of Red Crow, whose indigenous inhabitants are strangely immune to the zombie plague. It's from 2019. And I came across it one night. I saw the trailer and I went, okay, I'm in. And it's freaking great. It's just a great spin on a zombie thing, and just putting this particular tribe is for some reason isn't getting affected by this, and they're out there hunting zombies and killing zombies and stuff.
Wow.
But it's and I think it might be first time director writer, I forget, but it's definitely worth checking out. I really enjoyed it.
I've never heard of this. What's it called? Give me the title one more time.
Blood Quantum.
Blood Quantum. Okay, I'll check this out.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can find the name of the director. It's 2019. Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. I'm trying to pick some things that are sort of, like I said, we could just do Cronenberg and Well, I do have another one. Well, no, I'll wait for my next
Oh,
round.
now you're gonna do two.
There's
Wow.
blood. No. I'm gonna wait my turn.
Okay.
There's Blood Quantum. So we'll move on from there. I recommend it. The less you know, the better. Check it out when you can. And now we'll move on to Brian. Is it Brian?
Yeah, I think it's me.
Okay.
Well, there's like three of us, so yeah.
Sorry.
You narrowed it down.
And Matt, back to you. Is Brian
Yeah.
still here? Okay.
I'm monkey in the middle, and the one I would like to choose is Rock and Rule.
Oh, hey, that's a
great
good
one.
choice.
Yeah, that's by Nelvana, and I got to tell you, I didn't really like it the first time I saw it,
No, me neither.
but I think it was just my age, or that it's kind of a dark animated film.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting, but it did challenge me, and I thought about it later and thought, no, that was actually pretty bold. Some of the
Yes.
stuff in there, and it was a bomb, and it shouldn't have been. I thought, it just maybe it was too strange for the.
Now, here's a bit of trivia for you. What's the sort of bad guy kind of villain dude?
Mock.
Okay, the guy that does the voice of Mock.
Yeah.
Does the voice of Boba Fett.
Oh yeah, he's a Canadian actor. He's like he does like when I was a kid, he would do like Zoodles commercials and stuff.
He's somebody, and his daughter is somebody too. Like his daughter's a musician or something. I looked her up one time. Like she's kind of well known for stuff, but yeah, that's
Cree Summer Franks.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
Or yeah, he's got some his kids are famous, yeah.
So the first version of Boba Fett, the first time we hear the voice, is that dude.
Yeah.
Because that was done by Nelvana, the animated sequence. And he ends up being he's the villain. Like, Rock and Rule was 80, 81, 82? What was that?
I thought 83 is when it came out, but I think it may have been earlier and it was shelved.
Okay.
I can't remember. I could be getting my
And didn't Nelvana do some, heavy metal was like one of those hodgepodge of different, it wasn't the same animation throughout. Like I think they had different animation houses.
Oh yeah, it was styles, but Nelvana was definitely doing their house style.
So did they do something in heavy metal too? Did they do a sequence in heavy metal?
I don't think Nelvana did, no.
Okay.
But they may have worked on it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing in their style because heavy metal was like, if they were doing one cartoon, it was like Corbin, or like they were copying the style of the artists, not the animation houses.
Right. So it's like Bernie Wrightson and Mobius, and yeah.
I will just go on record as saying that anyone who worked at Nelvana probably worked on heavy metal, whether it was because it's just animation in general.
Because it was all Canadian, right? Because it wasn't Ivan Reitman, and it was
a Canadian French production heavy metal. Yeah, I didn't even. Gosh, even I've forgotten that was Canadian film.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of SCTV in there too, right? Like John Kennedy, Harold Ramis. A strange film, but
bizarre film.
And
that's a good one. Rock and Rule, man.
That's great.
My favorite of Alex Ross is a huge fan of that movie.
It's a cool story, and I grew up on Nelvana stuff, right? Like these specials aired a lot, and so I was kind of used to their like house style of how people looked.
Yeah, didn't they do also like the Laugh Olympics or the something Olympics or?
Oh, they did Romeo and Juliet. Is the one I'm thinking of.
That sounds like I hate to hit the porn thing again, but it sounds like a porn movie. Romeo and Juliet.
I won't fight you on that because it probably exists.
It's definitely a move I've used before, for sure.
Oh, right.
The Julie 8.
The Juliet.
That's all we got
Oh
tonight.
boy, that's all we got. All right,
Good night,
Um,
everybody.
kids, go to bed.
No, I mean they did things like that. Oh, they did. They did work on heavy metal. I just looked at this.
Okay. And wasn't
Nelvana
there
was
one?
involved.
But didn't they do a famous one about like the Animal Olympics or Animal?
No, I know what you're talking about. What
Like,
was that? That I don't know if they did that one.
okay.
Romeo and Juliet, A Cosmic Christmas, The Devil and Daniel Mouse, which I believe is how rock and roll kind of came to be.
Okay.
They had Take Me Up to the Ball Game, like things like that. And because of that stuff, George Lucas liked A Cosmic Christmas, and the holiday special animation
Right.
came, and then they did droids, and that guy who did Boba Fett's voice did a ton of voices on droids
Yeah.
as well.
Which is so weird when I think about the holiday special, which, everybody knows he tried to distance himself so much from, but he goes back to Nelvana to do the Droids and Ewoks animated series in
Yeah.
'86, which I find so bizarre that I mean he must have just loved what they did and didn't
You
Or
know,
loved working.
what's
yeah.
really funny is the guy who like worked on all that stuff, droids, Care Bears, Ewoks, he ended up quitting and becoming a Catholic priest.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I hope he got all of his show business life out of his system.
I
'Cause,
guess so.
yeah.
He gave my kid his first communion.
Wow.
Wow.
He must have just gone over the edge with all that Star Wars fandom. He was just getting
Yeah.
That's
getting
it.
too deep into the action and the drugs and everything else. That's it. I gotta be I can't do this.
Yeah, that whole Star Wars fandom scene, man. That was just too much.
It's too much, man.
Oh,
I gotta go.
I don't even remember that time, man. Just going to the conventions and just like, where am I? What happened?
I got so much action from episode 5 of the Droid series that
Oh,
I
man.
finally had to just go. I'm done. That's it. Time to
And
find.
you guys buried the lead that he also worked on Care Bears. I just wanted to point that out.
Oh, yeah. Well, that
Mm,
would send anybody to the priesthood,
yeah,
frankly. Okay, Matt, are you next?
He is.
I am next, and I'm gonna go for a film that is, I would say, pretty on the nose, but I think it has to be discussed if we're gonna discuss, classic Canadian films, and that would be 1974's Black Christmas.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I
A
didn't
film
even
that kind of
bother.
changed everything.
I was
Yeah,
waiting for that. I was waiting for that.
I didn't even bother to put that on
Yeah.
my list because it's like, no, someone's gonna do this.
I was gonna put it
Yeah.
on my list, and I thought, no, you know what? Matt's my friend. I'm gonna leave it to Matt.
It's
And
as
let-
long as it comes up because it
let him
is
put it on his-
incredibly
You're
important.
so generous, Jess.
It is. It is.
It
It
is. I
is.
mean, John Carpenter has said that he was influenced by it to make Halloween, and I think it, for better or worse, led to slasher films, which I know a lot of people put those down, but I think that's like anything else. There are good slasher films, there are bad ones. And this is great because it's not really a slash, it's a proto slasher, and it has the feeling more of, say, a haunted house movie than it does really a slasher film, because
But it also again, I keep going back. Maybe it's a Canadian thing. It plays it real, like the
yes,
the
yeah,
father who's looking for his daughter.
yeah,
That whole sequence with the father is heartbreaking,
yes,
and it's
yeah,
never, it's never played. Like there's an occasion, like somebody makes a joke at one point, and then notices he's in the room, and it's kind of like, oh, sorry, like they don't
yeah,
take
yeah.
no one's really taking it seriously that she's missing, and he's this concerned father, like, and the way it plays out, the first person he encounters and says, I'm looking for my daughter, it's played totally real, and it's never over the top, I don't think.
Well, and then if you don't know the movie, it's about a group of sorority sisters, and they get these prank calls. They're rather threatening, and it's the voice on the phone is really the best part of the movie for me. Like the
It's
voice
creepy.
is so fucking creepy.
Yeah.
And eventually, you find out something about this voice on the phone and where it's coming from, and it's all really great, fun stuff. And it takes place during the Christmas season, so it's a perfect Christmas movie. You've got an amazing cast. You've got Olivia
Yeah.
Hussey, Keir, you got Margot Kidder, John Saxon, Andrea Martin, SCTV.
Andrea Martin. Yeah.
Yes. Art Hindle, who I love.
Art
And
Hindle.
Catalog model Art Hindle.
yeah. And Nick
Margot Kidder.
Mancuso.
Oh, sir.
Nick Mancuso is the voice of Billy, who's the voice on the phone.
Right. Yeah, and Margot
Stingray. That was his show. Sorry.
Margot Kidder's a piece of work in that. I mean, she's the filthy girl.
She's
in that.
bad.
She's bad.
She's bad. Just the way I like bad.
She's my favorite.
Just a train wreck.
Just bad news. Wow.
But yeah, this is a movie that was produced and directed by Bob Clark.
Yeah,
Bob Clark. And what a CV for Bob Clark. I mean, children shouldn't play with dead things. Black Christmas. Murder by Decree.
Death Dream.
Death Dream, the monkey's paw movie.
One of my favorite movies.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't it Murder by Decree? Isn't it Sherlock Holmes going after Jack the Ripper? Is that
yeah.
Is that the one you're thinking of? Porky's and Christmas Story.
Mm.
Like what a weird combo of stuff that he had on his resume. It's pretty.
What a fun career too. I mean, just all the various different kinds of films that he made, and again, I mean, I guess, is this a Canadian film? I don't know who produced it, but was Death Dream Canadian?
I feel like Death Dream might have been filmed here because I put it under the Canadian, but now I got to look it up because these things all get. Oh, no, it was filmed in Florida. Okay,
is that right? Okay,
yeah, but
feels like a Canadian movie.
It does, and I want to know why it says Canada. Maybe because, it's just Canadian financed, I guess.
Financed, okay.
Yeah. But I feel like, was it Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things might have been Canadian?
I think so.
Now I got to know that. Yeah, I feel like that for a number of reasons. Let's see where it was filmed.
All very interesting movies.
I just recently watched Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, and it's a tough watch at times.
Well, it takes a while. You have to get through a lot of setup.
Yeah, it's mostly set up.
Yes.
And the reason I even know this film is because there was a TV, like a movie of the week on Sundays called The Not So Great Movie when I was a kid, and they aired things, and they aired a lot of Canadian movies, but they aired Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, along with Plan 9, In Search of Noah's Ark. I don't think it was that bad either. There was a lot, like it. To lump it in with the Creeping Terror was a lot.
Yeah, that's not. I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, but some of the other movies were kind of they're
and then
wretched.
The fact that you have with that movie has it's co-written by Alan Ormsby and he's one of the leads, and his character is very annoying.
Yeah,
so you do have to get through that part, but I think the first time I saw it, I was expecting something different, and then the second time I saw it, I really enjoyed it because I wasn't fighting it anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think we had the same experience basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, oh yeah, this guy.
Well,
yeah, exactly. Right.
So we're going backwards a bit because Matt, you just picked or wait, Brian, did you pick one or did Matt pick one? Who just did it?
I just went, and so
He
I think
just
it's
went.
you again.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll turn the Wayback Machine back a bit. This is one that I saw years ago on a VHS burn, and it's called The Silent Partner.
Oh, yeah, Elliot Gould.
What's this?
This is a 1978 flick thriller. Elliot Gould, Christopher Plummer, Susanna York. Basically, it's about a Toronto bank teller who's Elliot Gould discovers a discarded holdup note revealing an imminent robbery. Suspecting the mall's Santa, named Harry Blah Blah, Miles secretly hides $48,300 from his transactions in a lunchbox, giving Reichel only a small amount during the robbery. Realizing he's been shorted, the bad guy stalks and threatens Miles, and it becomes like a cat and mouse kind of thing. Like your average Joe who hates his job, Elliot Gould, finds a way to make some money here by riffing off of this guy that's going to rob the bank. But the criminal is vicious. I mean, it's Christopher Plummer, and it's very Hitchcock. I believe it's John Candy's first.
He got a spin-off out of that, I believe.
It's like the first movie he's in, I think. The first couple of scenes that he's in, maybe, John Candy.
Yeah, he plays a policeman, right?
I think he works at the bank.
Well, okay.
I think he's another bank.
I think I'm getting it mixed up with another Canadian film.
But it's a movie that for years I'd always heard that different studios were trying to remake because it's got a real twisty turny darkness to it and violent. It's got some real violent aspects to it. But Christopher Plummer is fantastic in it. You don't necessarily associate him with real sinister type characters, and he's great in it. But it's a great Canadian thriller. I guess you don't. No offense to Canada, and maybe I'm wrong about this, Brian, but when you think of like Hitchcockian thrillers, you don't think of a lot of Canadian. You think of more horror and drama and things like that. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's more that I'm not aware of.
You know what? You have to turn in your seeing things badge.
Listen, we could do a whole episode on seeing things and our love for what the hell's his name? Why can I never think of his
Louis
name?
Del Grand.
Louis Del Grand, who the rest of the world will know better for the opening of Scanners. He's the guy whose head blows up. But he was
he's great.
Spoilers.
He was in a great show called he was in a great Canadian show called Seeing Things, where he had like a second sight, like he could see a crime before it happened or something.
Oh.
Yeah. And I love watching old Seeing Things because that was filmed at the time where I was in Toronto like every other weekend.
Right.
And so it's like a little time tunnel for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it good?
It is actually a good Canadian, as Canadian shows go, and I will let you know that Seeing Things was on before a show that ran for 25 seasons that was about guys who found logs. And it was scripted. Okay.
Well, I don't know how I came across, but I think it was on local television, like after Benny Hill or something, like on Saturday.
After Benny Hill and before Benny Hill somehow.
But it was one of those things. As a kid, you just went, "Oh, okay, I'll watch this show," and it's kind of comedy, it's kind of wacky, and and it took years before I realized, oh, that's the guy whose head blows up in Scanners.
Yeah,
that's the same guy. So there's a little Cronenberg cameo for you guys there.
Nice.
Yeah. So The Silent Partner, I recommend that if no one.
The Silent Partner. I will check it out.
And I just want to point out that I was getting my wires crossed. John Candy had made 2 films in the 1970s before The Silent Partner, and that's where he got his. He had
Okay.
this character called Kopak, and the first movie was a film called It Seemed Like a Good Idea at the time. That was like an Anthony Newley, Stephanie Powers vehicle, and it had
Anthony,
it had
Dooley, Stephanie
yeah.
Powell. Wow.
Yeah, that was, and those. That's what we could afford.
That's quite a combo.
Yeah, and it has like Isaac Hayes, and
What?
I
Wow.
couldn't tell you the plot of this, but I know I've seen it like 8 times, because
Wow.
it's a bit of a romp, in the style of like a Pink Panther type film, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and there were two of those because John Candy's character, I believe he was a bumbling cop.
So that he did that before he shows
Yeah.
up Silent Partner. Okay.
Yeah, and then they got a sequel called Find the Lady, where it is
Oh, Find the
John
Lady.
Candy's the star. Yeah, that's the
Yeah, I
sequel
remember
to.
that. I
Yeah,
remember that. Okay.
yeah. Those are the movies that show up like at Kmart, to fool your grandma at VHS bin for $5. It's just a big picture of like John Candy from like Splash, and
Right.
it says Find the Lady.
Yep.
He's in 2 scenes. Okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
Well,
All right,
it's like it's not the polished John Candy you'd get in a Hollywood film. It's the early,
Right.
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 But where was I going? Oh, okay. I wanted
Okay,
to.
so you're up, I think.
Yeah,
Brian.
and
Yeah.
this is just a movie that is not good. I just want to point out it is not a good film. It is something that I just was so charmed by, and that is a film called The Corpse Eaters.
Oh, yeah. What is
The
that?
Corpse
60s?
Eaters. Okay, you got to fill me in on this.
Yeah, well, as the title suggests, it's about zombies.
Right.
And that's not the part that I think tugs at my heartstrings. It's the fact that it was made very far away, from where I am right now, up north, and it is such a like a wonderful bit of indie filmmaking that I don't know. There's just like some kind of magic about it for me.
Yeah.
To know that in the 70s there were guys that far up north. Sudbury is a mining town. It's very cold there, and it's just one of those things where it's like I had no idea guys were doing this in Canada when I was a kid.
Well, and there are certain movies that are like that. They're just charming.
Yeah.
They may not be giant productions. They might not be, the best made movie ever, but there's some heart to them. You could tell the people that were making them they were having
But-
fun.
Is the corpse eating part like a metaphor, or is there actual corpse eating in the film?
Is it a metaphor?
Well,
They just said it's a zombie movie.
Okay, listen.
It's a metaphor for eating people. Yes.
Listen. I've used the term corpse eating many times in my everyday life.
Use it right now.
Is that code? Is that?
I say things like, I'm so hungry right now I could eat a corpse.
Oh, yeah, that's where that comes from.
Doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to eat a corpse. It's just a
Oh,
figure.
okay. You could.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's actual corpse eating in the film.
Yes.
Just to be clear. Okay.
Yes.
What year are we talking?
I think 73.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It was made for about 36,000 Canadian or something like that.
Mm.
And the reason I think we don't know much about it is because whoever picked it up for distribution didn't actually want to distribute it. It was like a tax write-off.
Oh, okay.
And
shame.
yeah, and it's not a classic. It's for me, it's just like sort of Canadian outsider cinema,
Like comfort food.
Yeah, and comfort food. Yeah,
okay.
I think there's a point where the guy pours beer all over a girl's boob. There's a really long nude scene in this film, like unbelievably long nude scene. Like,
Really?
oh
Yeah.
my God, can
It
we
was
get
the
on with
70s.
this? Yeah, but
How far into the film? Like, what's the time code on it?
Let me see. I think I have it memorized. 32.
slow down, perverts.
79.
But the guy takes a beer, and I just can't remember what the beer was that he's licking off of her boob, but it is like, your dad stole beer from his dad. That was the beer.
Right. Isn't it funny now? I don't know how you guys are now, but like for me back then, during my formative years, I'd go to a movie and there was the nude scene. I'd be like, yes. And now, when I watch those movies, with the exception of anything with Jenny Agutter, I'm like, all right, let's go, let's keep it moving. It's funny. Something changes where you're like, you get to that place where it's like, I think I really want to get back to the story here.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that is a whole episode unto itself. But
yes,
I'll be honest. That's not really been a problem for me.
You know what? I am surprised that I forget.
I want more
the nude scenes in films when I turn them on. Like, hey, to my daughter, let's watch this film, like Purple Rain. And then I'll be like, how the frick did I forget this scene existed? Like, because like, oops, got to turn that off. And it's like,
sure.
And it's just
I'll tell you what I do notice, and this is the childhood memory or the youth memory or whatever. Like, when you do revisit something from however long ago, it seemed like the nude scene back then went on forever. Like, you were like, oh my God. And she totally, everything came on, and she walked, and this thing, I swear to God,
that's because we had the pause button.
And now, like, if you look at the scene from the Howling, which is a formative scene for me. It's the first time I saw a nude woman in.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
But it's like, it's zoop, and it's done, and you're on to and then boom, it's like, it's 5 seconds long. But for my whole life as a kid, you're like, it was, and she's totally, and it goes on forever. And it's like, no, it doesn't. It's just that's your mind playing tricks.
But some of them do, though, like the ones where it's the artistic, the close up of an elbow and the crook of someone's knee, or and then
or
that
like
just glitch of lap dissolves as.
Well, I always think of Slapshot. There's that scene in Slapshot where Paul Newman is talking to
the guy's wife.
Melinda Dillon. And they're laying in bed, and Newman is, his handsome chest is there, and she's topless, and the scene goes on for like 7 minutes. It's just like they're just having a conversation, and it was just a thing, I guess, in 70s movies. It wasn't exploitation necessarily, but it just was like it's all kind of free, just hanging out. Everybody sleeps in the nude, like everybody,
I don't think the nude scenes in most of the 70s movies were like, this is very important to the story.
No, it just was kind of, but I do think it's kind of like the 70s were kind of, people were naked a lot more in the 70s, I think.
That's true.
They slept in the nude. I've never slept in the nude. I sleep in jeans.
I get cold.
Yeah, no, I get cold.
Okay.
Even if I'm with someone, I'm like, can I get dressed now? Because this is.
Can I wear your T-shirt?
Yeah, if there's an earthquake, sorry, I gotta play it safe.
I get it. No, that makes sense.
So the corpse eaters.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Is it your turn now, Matt?
Yes.
Okay. What do you got?
I'm gonna jump right to 2023.
Nice.
How about that?
Nice.
For another horror comedy. And I saw this not long ago, and again, delighted. A really funny movie, great performances. It's called Humanist Vampire Seeking Consenting Suicidal Person.
Oh my God. It's so funny that you bring that up. I just put it in my queue last night.
Yeah. It's great.
Is it?
I loved it. I thought so.
Okay.
The story is there's this vampire, young vampire named Sasha, and for her birthday, a family brings a clown to perform to her at a party, and then they attack it and kill it, and she's supposed to eat from it, but she's traumatized. And I guess like a coming of age thing for a vampire is when your fangs sprout. But she's so freaked out by the idea of killing people that her fangs never sprout. And years go by and she still doesn't want to hunt down people. So her family members bring her blood, and that's like a bone of contention. And then one night she notices this teenage boy, Paul, who is about to jump off of a building and commit suicide, but he decides not to. And he's bullied by this guy that he works with. And so she befriends him, and it comes out that she's a vampire and she's having trouble with this whole blood thing. And he says, well, maybe we could help each other. I want to die. So you can, drink my blood, and then, it's win-win. But then, of course, what happens is a little romance begins.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and you know what? And it's sweet, and it's funny, and all the vampire stuff, because I like what they do with the vampire lore, with that it's almost like these are like a race. Yeah, you can turn people into vampires, but um there are also like a race of vampires with their own doctor, and like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there are shades. I don't know if you ever saw the Jim Jarmusch film, Only Lovers Left Alive.
Great movie.
Great vampire film. And, yeah, amazing, like masterpiece. And there are shades of that in there too, along with a little bit of sprinklings of, say, What We Do in the Shadows, but way less, broad.
And
It's a great
by the way,
movie.
that movie, only Lovers Left Alive, is one of the greatest love stories.
Hands down.
I love between the two of them, because it's not your traditional love story. They're apart through a lot of the film, and they've been together
years because they live so long that you couldn't do that.
There's a bond that they share that like supersedes any other kind of love. And God, it's such a great. Jarmusch is another one of those guys that just I've been, I saw Down by Law at the Uptown Theater in Minneapolis when I was a kid, and I've watched everything he's ever done, and he never disappoints. I mean, sometimes it works better than others, but he's always worth watching. And that's a great movie. That's a great vampire movie, a great Jim Jarmusch movie, great cast.
So there's two for you. You could do like a double feature if you don't want to do full Canada. You could do
right.
You could clean your Canadian palate, and also you could juxtapose. One is it's not even Only Lovers Left Alive is more of a. Yes, it's a horror movie, but it's really a drama, and it's a very thoughtful piece.
Yeah, very well done. It's that's great. Okay, I just put the other one in my queue last night, because I think I watched the trailer and I went, oh, this could be interesting. That one with the long title you just mentioned.
It's got a very satisfying ending too.
Okay, all right. Hopefully somebody pours beer on someone's breasts at some point.
Mm-hmm. Well, I did film something and then include it in the version that I have that I watch.
Okay, so
I pour beer across my hairy chest.
I'm going to pick one, and I'm going to say that I seem to recall maybe mentioning this to Matt at one point, and him going, and kind of scoffing.
Okay.
But as he does, but I don't recall. It's called The Void.
Oh yeah,
2016.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up.
It is not perfect by any means, but it is batshit, and it is weird, and it is clearly riffing on Lovecraft, or it's trying to.
Very much so.
And it's got a mood to it, and definitely Canadian because it's just got that vibe. And by the time you get to the climax, it just goes berserk.
Yes.
But the build up from how it starts, and you know, you get a bunch of people that come into the hospital that already know some shit's going down, whereas
Yes.
the people in the hospital are going, wait, what is it? And everybody's talking at cross purposes, and then it kind of unfolds.
Some
It
surprises that you didn't expect.
Yeah, and it really impressed me. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of the guys in it, shit, I can't think of his name. Well, first of all,
Aaron Poole?
not Aaron Poole, but who's the guy that was in? He's in Cronenberg. He was in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. He's in the Brood.
Kindle.
He's
Art Kindle.
Yes, Art. Yes, he's in it, I think.
Is he?
And I think he's got a small part in it, if I'm not mistaken. I think he shows up in it. And the other guy is the guy who played oh fudge brownies. The guy who played he's in season 2 of Twin Peaks. The guy that's a former agent that's going after Cooper. And
Okay.
he's been in loads of stuff. But it's a fun creepy, I guess Lovecraftian, I guess is the best way
Definitely.
to
Yes.
put it. It's got that feel to it. It's got a great soundtrack, great weird vibe soundtrack
Yeah, the
to it.
music is really interesting, and here's the thing: is that I liked that movie. I liked it more the second time I saw it because the first time I saw it, I felt that I really had, once again, I admired the attempt of what they were trying to do, and they were using a lot of practical effects, which
Hmm.
I always support. And my problem was sometimes I couldn't see the effects. Like they were doing this thing with the lighting,
Yes,
and I felt like it's like, don't be ashamed. Don't show it. You
I
can make
felt
this
like they
work.
were trying to kind of play it safe because it was.
Yes, yes, they
Yeah,
were.
yeah,
But I would have liked to have seen because I was looking at what I saw in there, what I thought I saw, and I thought it looked great, and I would like to have seen a little bit more of the work.
yeah.
But the mood of the film I think is great, and I think the performances are wonderful, and it really does capture the Lovecraftian vibe
Yeah, which
perfectly, I
is
think.
which is hard to pull off. We've only seen it a few times where glimpses of it, like in the first Hellboy movie, you get
Yeah,
sort of a glimpse of it, but it's a very difficult thing to pull off because you go you kind of have to go whole hog, and not everybody can do that because the budget doesn't really
right,
work for that or
right,
whatever.
yeah.
But it's a strange one. Have you ever seen it, Brian? Have you heard of it?
Oh, I've heard of it. I saw all the advertising around it, and it looked really intriguing, but I've never gotten around to seeing it.
I think you would like it. I think you would dig it.
Hmm.
These
Yeah,
these cultists in the movie are super creepy, and
Yeah.
the various emblems that they have on their robes and everything. It's all very strange.
oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I can visualize the poster while you guys are talking. Like
And
I
it's got a
recognize.
bit of that sort of Assault on Precinct 13, where like um
Yes, yeah.
they're all kind of trapped in a hospital, and like, what the fuck is going on?
And they're all just standing there. That's what I love too, is that
Yeah,
they're just standing there outside
yeah.
watching this hospital.
And I don't remember who did it, but it's one of those things where when I see stuff like that, I'll go, okay, I'll see whatever the next thing this guy does.
Uh,
Like, this is
it says Stephen Kotansky and
Stephen.
Jeremy Gillespie.
Yeah, see, I'll try to find whatever next,
Oh,
and I'll give it a go.
yeah, that
Uh,
I will check that out. Actually, I've seen it. Maybe on Shutter.
Yes, I think it. I think
yeah,
it is
yeah.
better.
I
Hmm.
think
Yeah.
that's always on
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
All
I'm
right,
gonna.
Brian, you're up.
Okay, I think we're getting to the end of our favorites, and I want to get into some of our least favorites. But who started and who I think Matt finishes, right?
I finished. So I have one
Okay.
more. I have
Well,
one
I
more
have one more
positive
before you
one,
go.
and
And I have
then
one. I have one more positive one too.
Okay, so
But you go
everyone
ahead.
gets one more positive.
Go.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Class of 1984.
Oh, I love that movie.
Me too. It's filmed not. I actually didn't live far from the building that was supposed to be the high school back in the 90s, but just a wonderful little bit of exploitation.
Oh
Uh,
yes.
the what really makes me laugh is the punk club in the film is like, if you know downtown Toronto, it's on Edward Street. It was across from the world's biggest bookstore. This was not a seedy part of town. In fact, like every scene from that Edward Street, you can see Barbarians, which is one of Toronto's like finest steakhouses.
Oh wow.
So there's like a lot of history for me in it, but also I just kind of loved that, that Warriors
Blackboard Jungle kind of.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it felt a little post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
Like, there's a little Mad Max in there. I love that kind of stuff.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
We had the writer of that film, Tom Holland, on our show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and we also had Lisa Langlois, who was one of the punks.
Oh, wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I know one of the.
I love that movie.
Yeah, me too. And it was, to me, it looked like that's an iconic poster.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. And I also am a fan of the punk band that's in the movie, Teenage Head, which I believe is a
Oh,
Canadian.
yeah. They had to change their name for a while to Teenage Heads
Oh,
because
okay.
of the controversy. Yeah. Teenage Heads. They're awesome.
Wow. Okay.
And then it's Matt's go.
All right, here we go. So there is a movie that I'm a fan of that I keep going back to, and it's a film that is from 2017, and it's called Pie Wacket. And Pie Wacket, yeah, Pie Wacket, and Pie Wacket is the name of a demon. And in this movie, this woman who is this young girl who is having trouble with her mother, because the mother, they've lost their father, and now the mother has moved them out to this remote school in the woods, and that's where their house is. And so the young girl is fascinated by the occult, and so she hangs out with her occulty friends, and at one point they decide they're going to summon this demon Pyewacket to kill her mother because that's how much she hates her. But then, of course, after they do this ritual, then she starts to bond with her mother and starts to see her mother's side of things, that she's really, just bereaved and going through a hard time herself. But things have been set in motion now. So this demon is coming for her. And the demon starts to show up, and it's a build up till it actually does all of its stuff. But it starts to appear, and she's got this the girl has this kind of a hard-edged friend who doesn't really take anything too seriously, is not easily frightened. And because she's so freaked out because she's seeing Pyewacket, she invites the friend to spend the night, and she's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll come over, and it'll be fine." And at one point, she leaves the friend alone and comes back, and the friend is like destroyed. And it's a really wonderful acting job because her friend is just like, "I don't want to talk about it. I don't." She saw something, you don't know what it was. She doesn't even describe it, but you can tell she's seen something horrible. And then after that, the girl keeps trying to get a hold of her friend to please explain to me what happened. Won't answer calls, like it's just destroyed. And so the rest of it is her trying to, then she consults some occult expert to help her get out of this spell and try to thwart this demon. And that's like the rest of the movie. But it's great. It's a small movie, but but really really atmospheric.
I've
And
seen this. Is this
yeah,
is Laurie Holden in this? The blonde actress who's in
it is Laurie Holden. Yes,
I think I've seen this movie. Yeah, it's good and creepy. Yeah,
it's
it's
good and creepy, and it does. What I love about it is it does a lot. Yes, you see images of Pyewacket, and they're fleeting. You don't really see too much, so that's good. But what they do through performance and describing things is great. And it's the type of horror that I miss sometimes, because as much as I love an all-out horror practical effect, monster thing, to see something done like this, where they take their time and they use words and they use atmosphere to present the terror. Yeah, I'd love to see a lot more of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't remember it that well, but I know I saw this one night. I saw the trailer, and as you do with a lot of this stuff, when I find it on Shudder or whatever, I'll watch a trailer and go, "Oh, okay, that's."
That looks interesting. Yeah.
Most of the time, I'll finish it. Sometimes I'll get halfway and go, "It's not really what I
Yeah,
thought,"
yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm pretty sure I finished that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I got one more that's a good one, and I think I recommended this. I'm for sure recommended it to Matt. But it's a movie. This is going back to, I want to say 2020 or 2021. It's called Come True. And
Oh yeah, you were just
the
yeah.
gist the gist of this is it's a young girl who there's something going on with her mom. Like, she doesn't get along with the mom. You barely see the mom, and she's been leaving the house at night and like sleeping on a playground, like on a slide on a playground or something. But she's also having issues with sleep. She's not sleeping well. So she finds out about this study that's being done at a university or something, where you can volunteer to be monitored while you sleep. And what it does, what's really kind of knocked me out with this thing, um, the guy who wrote and directed it, he also did the music for it, and he did the visual effects for it too. And when you go into the dream state of a character, let's say, or this lead character, this girl, the way they show you the dreams that we've seen a million different ways. When you go into someone's dream, there's a guy with a dog head, and there's a dwarf walking around with an apple or something, and we've seen every which way you can portray what the dream state is. But what he does in this is the camera just kind of keeps moving forward, and you're in this ethereal black world, black and blue kind of world, where you're kind of going through buildings or areas or rooms. And what's happening is, all of these subjects, the same uh, uh, thing is appearing in all of their dreams. Like, there's some
Hmm.
kind of being with these, laser bright, kind of light bulb sort of bright eyes, that is appearing in all the same dreams. And then you've got this team that's monitoring it, and they've got equipment where they can see into the dream itself. And
Oh, cool.
it's a strange creature of a movie. It is slow. It takes its time, and it very much feels like late '70s Cronenberg. Just, I mean, not in the body
Okay.
horror sense, but in the way that where it's shot, and the darkness in it, and the moodiness of it. And by the time you sort of get toward the climax, and there's this long sequence, and you're going, I don't know where this is going, but I'm just going to go with it. And it really impressed me. Um, just the lighting, and the acting, and it felt very real and very unsettling. And I've recommended it to a few people, and they've loved it. And I think it's got like an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes, for whatever that's worth. But it's really starting to kind of catch on as a thing. So I
I'm
highly
in.
recommend it. Yeah, it's called Come True, and it's worth checking out. And again, the guy who did it, he's got some band that does the music for it too, and it's very electronica and very and you just don't know where this thing is going as you're following this girl. It's really good. It's really well done. So I recommend it.
Amazing.
I'm in.
Yeah.
And Canadian.
And Canadian. So I wanted to kind of cap this off with some unpleasant Canadian films.
Go for it.
And I'm going to leave the one I know Jason picked to him. So I'm going to start it off with one of the, like, there's so much exploitation done in Canada, but the one, I really hate is Starship Invasions.
Starship Invasions. Wow.
How the F do you make a spaceship movie with Christopher Lee and Robert Vaughn and it sucks? Yeah, it's dreary. It's unfun. I think I saw it like on Christmas break when I was a kid. And, when you hear the name Starship Invasions, you don't expect to see a mother slitting her wrists in front of her children. Which actually happens in the film. Yes, the aliens have a suicide ray that looks like a pie plate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
See, I think I like this movie more than you do.
You think? Because I hate it.
Well, I can't say I really like it, but it is one of those ones where it's so ridiculous that I kind of plan 9 watch it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll get that. Except I guess I had the impact of seeing it as a kid.
Oh yeah, you took it too seriously.
Well,
you
took it
took
seriously
it seriously because you that's what you were expecting, a good movie.
Yeah.
Well, and to be fair, not a lot of people know this, but when Brian was young,
I think a lot of people know this.
he did think.
You've been quite you're quite earnest about sharing it.
Okay, now I have to know.
Okay, I thought Star Trek. I'm going to point it out I'm going to use my words. When I was a kid, I had seen the Assignment Earth episode, and I think I'd also seen the return, any Star Trek where they went back to the '60s, which happened a couple of times, I think.
Okay, right.
And I had this canon in my head that Star Trek was a super secret government project. And then it was like, now, in the conceit of the show, I didn't think it was real, but I didn't think Star Trek took place in the future.
You thought it was a documentary.
Well, I thought it was.
So wait a minute. So you didn't feel like you didn't think it was real, but you thought within the confines of the show, that the stuff in the future wasn't real.
This was the conceit of the show, is that it takes place in the '60s. That's why everything looks so goofy, but it's they are space people. This is the conceit, is they're actually going out into space, but it's top secret because every time they go on Earth, they have to disguise themselves and act like they're not there. You know what I mean? And
let's make that show.
Yeah, actually, but no, I did not think Star Trek was a documentary.
I was hoping it was going that way, but
I just created my own headcanon.
I didn't think it was a documentary. No, I'm teasing.
All right.
Well, I was thinking of the one, and I can't remember the name of it.
It's called The Shape of Things to Come.
No, it's not that. I've got that.
Oh, that one. Oh my God.
What's the other one that's like? It made its way onto videotape, and it's one of the worst things ever. And it's like a horror film, but it's oh my God, I can't think. It's one of those, like the box is just like a hand drawn box. Joe Bob Briggs.
What year?
It's got to be like mid '80s or something.
Okay. Not Blue Monkey.
No,
Blue Monkey had a photo on it.
Okay,
maybe it's not.
Which I kind of like.
Is it Rock and Roll Nightmare?
No. It's really god awful. It's not even a film. It's just like a video. It's like somebody put a videotape in a camera, filmed some stuff, and somehow it made its way out. Because Brian, I know you know about this because we've talked about how somehow it made its way onto video store shelves.
Yeah.
And I can't think of the name of it, but
I don't know. But that describes like 1/4 of my Blu-ray collection.
In lieu of that, I'm going to choose. And this is one of the first times as a child.
Wait a minute. What's happening here? I thought I was next.
No, he
Oh,
never
sorry.
actually named
Oh,
a
sorry.
film. He was
Matt,
Oh, he never made. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Matt. I
Well,
forgot.
no, you didn't name a film.
You got to pick your bad one. Go ahead.
No, you didn't name a film.
I didn't.
I thought we were. I thought I was after you, Brian. So
Oh,
that's why.
I'm sorry. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm
You
very
go.
sorry.
You go, Matt.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. We'll fix it in post.
Yeah.
Well, here's one I think we're all going to agree on, and it has a special place in my heart because it's also linked in my memories to a great movie. But so here's the first one. The film I'm referring to is H.G. Wells's The Food of the Gods.
Oh dear God. Yeah.
Oh.
1976. And it's an AIP film that was actually written, produced, and directed by Burt I. Gordon.
B.I.G.
I mean, made so many classic B science fiction movies in the 50s and 60s. It stars Marjo Gortner.
Yeah, that is a Pod Stallion's favorite.
Yeah,
and someone I've thought about twice today.
God,
wow.
It's so weird. I put this in my queue 2 nights ago. I swear to God, I saw the photo. It had the photo of the poster, and then it had a picture of Marjo, and I went, "Oh shit, I got to put this in my list."
And the big rat, right?
Yeah, on the poster. Yeah, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, it seemed like something you would have told me about that I needed to see or something. But I don't
and
know
it's
if
the cast is like Ralph Meeker and Ida Lupino, and you're like, what the fuck?
Ida Lupino
And Pamela Franklin, and it's and I have to tell you, Fatty Arbuckle, is it? Yeah, Fatty Arbuckle Jr. And so I see the poster for this in the paper, and I'm begging because I was constantly begging my mom or whoever would take me to see horror movies or science fiction movies.
Sure.
And so I saw this one, and she didn't like anything that was too scary, but this one looked like it was, kind of just a monster movie. So okay, and it was a double feature. So we go to see this Food of the Gods, and I watch it, and even as a kid, I was like, well, they took a live rat and they put it on a dollhouse, and
yeah.
Okay, whatever. But then get this. It was a double feature with a movie that neither of us knew anything about, my mom or I. And it was They Came From Within.
Oh God, Cronenberg.
Otherwise known as Shivers.
Yeah.
From David Cronenberg.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
With the sex worms.
Yeah.
So I am about, let's see, I don't know,
Sex
8,
carousel,
9.
I would take it. Yeah.
I'm 8 or 9 years old or something like that. And so we watch Food of the Gods, ha ha ha, giant rats. And then this movie comes on, and it's the sex worms that come out of people's bodies.
And that's when Daniel Stern's voice came up and said, and that is what I knew I was hooked.
Yeah, this was in the theater with your mom?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And there's some real messages in there.
Yeah. So I'm sitting next to my mom, and my mom keeps looking over at me as this movie is progressing. And she's like, "Are you okay with this?" I go, "Yeah, no, I'm fine." And from that moment on, I was a Cronenberg
Give me
fan.
a pen.
Wow. And what was the title? You said it was retitled something? What was it?
It was retitled Shivers.
Oh, Shivers.
But it was, I saw it as They Came From Within, which I believe is the original title, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I actually don't know anymore.
Yeah, I get it mixed up. But yeah, I'm watching this, and it's so weird. You got Lynn Lowry taking off her clothes, and yeah, and it was so uncomfortable, and I was kind of fucked up by the movie, but in a good way. Like I felt uncomfortable and kind of liked it. And it wasn't just like the sex stuff, but it was like just that the weird gore, the body horror part of it was fascinating to me.
Yeah.
I mean, look at you now. It did you no harm.
It did me no harm.
It made you the
adjusted.
man you are today.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, okay. So I've got
my Walt Disney.
I've got one that's similar, but not quite as horrific. But it was one of those moments as a kid, might have been one of the earliest moments of just your inner voice going, "Oh, this is a rip off. Like I'm just getting ripped off here. Like this is, what a jip." And my parents, separated when I was like 10, and my dad was out of the house. So occasionally it'd be like, "Hey, do you want to see a movie on Sunday or whatever?" And I'd be just scouring the newspaper for anything remotely looking sci-fi and I went to a
Right.
lot of movies too that were like, I shouldn't have gone. Like,
Right.
why did I go to Absence of Malice? The Paul Newman
or the Devil in
field.
Mr.
What the fuck?
How'd you get in?
Yeah.
I saw Mass Appeal
Oh
at
my
the
God.
Oh, Jack Lemmon.
Wow.
Lemon movie about priests. I mean, I said, and then again, I saw The Elephant Man. I don't remember if I chose to see The Elephant Man or my mom just went, "We're going to see The Elephant Man this week."
I saw Best Friends.
Like, I took you to
the
Popeye
Burton.
last week, and we're going to see the goddamn Elephant Man this week, whether you like it or not. I'm taking you
Yeah.
to the Elephant Man.
Wow.
So there's a lot of stuff that I just sort of went with to these fairly not adult, like R-rated, but sort of, what am I doing? Again, I keep thinking of Absence of Malice. Like, what am I doing? I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if I think she's probably not a nice person, and Paul Newman's cool, so I'm in for that. I saw A Bridge Too Far in the theater. My brother took me to that, which is World War II movie, but anyway, so I would look for anything remotely sci-fi or fantasy or anything.
Yeah.
And I saw an ad for The Shape of Things to Come.
Oh,
and Things to Come, as we know, is the H.G. Wells classic black and white sci-fi thing that really
William Cameron Menzies,
very prescient in how it dealt with war and talked about mankind and what it's going to do, what the future might be, and so on. This was a Canadian remake of some kind. I don't even know how they got away with the title.
Probably public domain.
Yes, yeah.
It must have been, because the lead dude, and Brian, you know who this guy is.
It's Nicholas Campbell.
Nicholas Campbell, who was in The Dead Zone, and he's a very famous Canadian actor. He's still kicking. He was in the ABC ripoff of Miami Vice called The Insiders.
Oh yeah.
That had the Genesis song "Just a Job to Do" as the theme. Little tidbit for you. But anyway, so he was the lead, and I don't know who the woman was. And this fucking robot that looked like it came from Radio Shack.
It looked like it looked like a grade school production.
And it was just awful. And I remember sitting in the theater, maybe 20 minutes in, and my father, he must have been looking at me, kind of with a smirk on his face, because he knew at one point I kind of looked at him and he just kind of chuckled. He could see the disappointment in my face, and he kind of chuckled like, "Yeah, this really sucks, doesn't it?" And I was like, stayed and watched the whole movie, but it was awful. And I remember, like, I've seen pictures, online or whatever, and they're wearing moon boots. So the two leads, they're the budget covered 1979, 80 style moon boots, and that's the moment as a kid I went, I got those moon boots. I shouldn't be seeing moon boots in a movie. Like, what's going on?
You okay? You know what? I've got you beat. The film is set in Ontario Place. Like, the moon set is it's Toronto's little amusement park. I grew up going to Ontario Place. I have very happy memories of that. And we're supposed to take it serious that's outer space. I've been on those. I can remember once, like, my friend calling me in high school, and he's like, "You got to go to Channel 13. It's in French, but like Barry Morse is running around at Ontario Place." Like a spaceship or some shit. And I was like, "Yeah, I know what that is."
Is Barry Morse in it too? He's in
Barry
it too?
Morse, yeah, because Barry Morse, Barry Morse went home for lunch every day, and it just what's his Jack Palance is
Jack Palance, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Jack Palance is in it.
He couldn't even save that.
But he is like, he's got drywall in his teeth in this one. My favorite scene in the film, though, is when he gives his decree. He's he's got this big hologram and he's rotating like he's in a microwave. Which just makes me like, it's just like, that is like, are you done?
That was.
I remember seeing that movie being talked about in Starlog magazine.
Yeah.
And
of course, yeah.
And
of course.
You know, when it's in Starlog, they try to put the most positive spin on it that they can.
Sure.
Oh my God! Sure. Yeah, the creature wasn't nice was going to be this big blood.
Yeah, I'm looking like, wow. I don't know. It kind of looks bad, but
looks like crap.
They seem to be into it.
Do you remember what was the one called Star Blast? Was that the one that had the
Laser Blast?
Laser Blast, yeah.
Laser Blast is good.
But that was in.
Did it? No, it wasn't good.
That was
Laser Blast is way more fun. Is what.
But that had images of like the stop motion.
Yeah, that was the first movie I ever rented.
Years years before it came out. Like those pictures were in Starlog, and it didn't come out for like another 5 years or something. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Starlog was the Bible. They put a positive spin on whatever it was because they had to fill up the pages.
Yeah.
But
Star Crash. I was like looking forward to Star Crash, and and then I went to see it, and I was delighted, but it was not in the way that I thought it was going to be. I'm like,
they did.
This is awful and glorious.
They did like a 5-page spread. They did like a 5-page spread on the stuff. Do you remember the Larry Cohen movie, The Stuff?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
The Stuff I do like, though.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not a bad movie. It's just like 5 pages in Starlog because they're like, well, shit, we're running out of.
We got to fill up this bag.
Look, I think they gave a whole issue to Strange Invaders back in the day.
They did, and yes.
I do like that film very much, but it did not make a big impact.
But the other thing that Starlog would do, and I think about this lately because our good buddy Rockford J sent me a stack of Star Trek specials, like the Wrath of Khan special and the
I had that
special.
Give me that.
They gave everything away in those magazines. So when I'm reading this like synopsis of Wrath of Khan, you're like, did they assume everybody had seen this by the time this hit the shelves? But Starlog would put photos. I remember the Garrett Morris photo in
from the stuff, where he obviously died in the film.
Was the prosthetic of his head?
Yeah, that's terrible.
They were sitting in bed with him. Yeah.
Yeah, my God, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. But well, wow, look at that. That's.
I want to give one more film before we go.
Please.
If I can.
Well, wait a minute. I still got one here.
Okay, good.
You still got one.
I have a question. Do your thing.
Okay. I want to just give a special FU to a movie called The Neptune Factor. Now this
also saw that in the theater.
Oh, Jesus, Murphy! How much do you need? The Neptune. This is actually the Yvette Mimieux and Ernest Borgnine from The Black Hole. 7 years before The Black Hole. And I think Walter Pidgeon from Forbidden Planet and Ben Gazzara. And basically, here's what happens.
What a cast!
They go down in a submarine, like a little toy submarine.
Diving bell kind of thing.
And they get trapped. And they spend an hour and a bit looking at large fish. Like the exterior shot is a toy and some trout, and they're looking at, they made the window of the diving bell, a projection screen to show really big, like it is lazier than gluing bits onto iguanas and pretending they're dinosaurs.
Absolutely.
And I hate this movie. And it got me as a kid, and I just remember hating its guts, and then it aired all the time because it was Canadian, and it's just
And this is what, like late
72.
70s? Oh, 72.
Yeah.
Well, still, Walter Pidgeon must have been 97 when that came out.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he was just there for, the exact tie-in to Forbidden Planet,
Right. I don't
That's
think
another one where I saw the ad in the paper and thought, well, yeah, in the paper, it had on the poster, you saw the big fish.
Yeah.
But I thought that, like, well, that's just the, beginning. That's, you see a big fish, but then things get, even crazier, and they don't.
They don't.
Things get even better after that fish.
You thought, this is already great with the giant fish.
Yeah.
And
how much better can it get?
Also, like the underwater scenes look like they're filmed at a supermarket. Like it's not the world's greatest aquarium.
No, dirty and right.
I don't think I've ever heard of this. I don't think I've seen this.
Never.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no need.
Avoid it. Okay.
Can I just venture out a little bit into a TV series?
Sure.
Because it's almost like a movie.
Sure, although we could do that too in another episode.
I would just like to because this one is so terrible, and it's almost legendary for how terrible it is.
Uh-oh.
And of course, we all know and love the Starlost.
Yeah, I knew you were going there.
I knew you were going to say Starlost. I knew it.
I have a long history with that show, and I did have a lot of fun talking to Keir about it once.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because
at gunpoint.
No, he was a really good guy. He's very sarcastic, very funny. I had caught there was a TV show on in the early 90s. I maybe even taped it, where it was like basically a flashback show, like let's talk about the 70s, let's talk about the 80s, and it was produced by Glenn Warren Productions, who was also the guy who created the Starlost, or who produced the Starlost. So they did a segment on the Starlost, and they actually had the host of that flashback show. One of them was a weatherman that my grandfather didn't get along with, and the other. This is all filmed near our house.
Don't just gloss over that story.
Yeah, it's a long story, but the other actress was Noreen Virgin, the late Noreen Virgin, who was on today's special. She was on one episode of the Starlost, so she did this tribute to the show and made out like there were conventions and fans all over the world, and I was like, that's not true.
No.
And I told Keir that story, and he just rolled his eyes. He's like, oh, but that's an interesting story, because that was supposed to be a network show.
Yeah, it was supposed to be, and I'm assuming that they were supposed to have a way bigger budget.
Oh yeah,
and,
Douglas Trumbull had this huge. He had this huge idea, this kind of like projection idea. It was big budget special effects that all just became chroma key.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's so obvious, and it when you watch it, you think, wow, if only they had the special effects masters who did Doctor Who.
Blake Seven.
The best special effects are just the early test footage at the start of the show that I think Trumbull did in film, and but the whole thing just takes place like it's just The Fugitive. Actually, I think it was originally supposed to be The Fugitive, that Garth was going to keep hunting Keir Dullae's character,
right?
And then, but I think they took that out. That was in the book Phoenix from the Ashes,
right?
Which I don't have a copy of for some reason.
And doesn't
I have it too?
Yeah.
Doesn't Dullea kind of wear like a farmer's hat?
Like what it is it's little tribes of men in this lost ark, and he's like Amish. And the conceit of the show is that everyone's forgotten they're on a spaceship, or and it's for better or for worse. I've always liked the concept. But I never.
Harlan Ellison.
Yeah, and it also reminds me of a really good Space 1999 episode called Mission of the Darians.
Yes, I know
Yeah,
that one.
that could have been a series on its own too, just
Sure.
like a damaged arc. But yeah,
What a waste of Sterling Hayden, though. My God. Look.
what a
Well, and
waste.
a lot of people.
Yeah, well,
Sterling Hayden was in it too.
He's in the first episode.
yeah, he's the
See, I've only seen bits of this, and I don't know if it was something I saw, as a kid on like the local station or something, if they ever ran it. But I know more. I know more of the visual. I haven't seen much of it at all. But you guys,
Well,
was
you
it
know,
like one or two
every
seasons?
episode.
yeah,
How
me
long
me
did it?
too. And
Did it?
they're fun to watch in a, like I said, like a hate watching kind of thing. And once you're over that, this is not going to be great. There is sort of a perverse enjoyment in watching that series. However, if you really want to have a good time, and I think you can find this either on YouTube or archive.org, but it's the account of Harlan Ellison describing his experience in making the
Oh,
show
Oh
and the
yeah,
battle that he
right.
had. And that could be a movie in and of itself.
yeah, and
Was
that
it? I
that thing has
forgot.
so many twists and turns. It's in the back of the Canadian printing, anyways, of the Phoenix from the Ashes.
Was it
Yeah.
his? Was it his concept,
Oh
or
yeah,
he got hired as a writer?
no, it was his, and then he disowned it. Every episode was attributed to Cordwainer Bird.
Yeah. That
It's
was
just
like his Alan Smithy.
Yeah,
it's just so weird that it's just so weird that
yeah. It's
Harlan.
so odd that Harlan
So odd
Ellison
that
was difficult
Harlan
to work
Ellison
with.
was unhappy about something he
Yeah,
produced. It's just
so
but
out of
but
character.
yeah,
it's just so out of
but
character for him.
yeah. I mean, I'm like one of the biggest Harlan Ellison fans ever. Like I fucking love his work, and I met him a couple times and
Me
actually
too.
had a very pleasant time with him. But when you watch the final product of what the Starlog, the Starlost became, you can kind of understand why he was upset
Oh yeah,
because
yeah.
yeah, I mean it's so amateur and it's so slow and it's so, I mean, like it seems like on every point they got it wrong
But it
except for
wasn't.
casting.
But wasn't part of the thing with Ellison, and God love him. I admire him too. Not in the way that you do, but I always felt like his thing was that his imagination was such, and his the visuals he had in his head were never going to translate to a television budget for what he wanted, and then if it just came in half-assed, it was never going to be enough anyway.
Oh, he was
Right?
never going to be happy with it. But I would say that if it had the budget and the Trumbull effects like they were planning, and it aired on a broadcast network, and it was written by people who had handled that before, because the Canadian writers were like comedy writers. They
No.
didn't know
Oh,
how to
Yeah.
write a scripted
Yeah.
science fiction program, and it shows. And I'm fascinated with this train wreck, but it really would have been. I think it could have been actually a pretty damn good television series in the right hands. I don't think that Harlan Ellison would still be calling it a piece of crap and disowning it, but I think there could have been something we'd be like collecting the merchandise from.
Well, and I also feel that for as difficult as Harlan Ellison could be, I think that there are a number of things that he is proud of. He was happy with, as far as I've been able to research, his Outer Limits episodes.
Oh
He
yeah,
liked those, and he liked A Boy and His Dog. And there's actually another really good. I think it might be on the Blu-ray of A Boy and His Dog, where he talks to L.Q. Jones about the making of the film, and that's also another fascinating story. But he was actually when
but he
he
liked that, right? Didn't he?
yeah,
Didn't he?
well, he had refused. There was something that happened when they were making the movie where he got writer's block because he was supposed to write the script, and then for some reason he couldn't write. And then L.Q. Jones came in and finish the script. And at every point, he would go back to Harlan Ellison and say, "Do you want to look at the script? Do you want to come to the set?" And he'd go, "No, no, no." And then finally, he says, "Before this thing is released, do you want to see it?" And he says, "Okay." And he watches it and he loves it, but he has problems with some of the dialogue. And so, to cut to the chase, he ends up selling a bunch of film clips at a Star Trek convention to make the money to finance the re-recording of some of the dialogue. And so by the end of it, he was pretty happy. The only thing he didn't really like is the last line of that movie, which I'm not going to give it away if you've never seen the movie, but he thought it was kind of a tasteless joke where that's not really where the character of Vic is at the end of that story.
Do you think that he's just to not to make this a Harlan Ellison episode, but do you think that he is one of those writers that like I think Bradbury's stuff translates better to live action to film. I mean, Frank Herbert, incredibly hard to there's a reason it took so long to get something the way. Do you think that Ellison stuff doesn't necessarily lend itself to some of it does, obviously, but do you think some of his stuff is more esoteric and wouldn't quite work as in live action or as an adaptation of some kind?
I do think that there are certain things, for example, like manga or comic books even, that work the best as what they are.
Like Philip K. Dick, Philip K. Dick stuff is really hard to.
Yeah, and Harlan Ellison is I mean, he's a wordsmith, and his writing is so beautiful, and sure, I think that might be a problem. I don't know if you've ever read the book on City on the Edge of Forever that he wrote, where he's talking about how Gene Roddenberry always said that Scotty was a drug dealer or something like that. And so he has his script in there that wound up winning the Writers Guild Award. The original script. And you read that script and you go, well, I don't think this is quite as unfilmable as you were making it out to be. So, I mean, I think it's a case by case thing. I think it's easy to get frustrated with trying to get your work adapted to TV, especially because nobody gives a fuck about the writer. I mean, in most cases, certainly back then.
Well, I remember his comparing, what's it called in the City on the Edge of Forever? What's that being called? That entity
the Guardian.
The Guardian on the
The way it's sort of described in the script is like, holy shit. I mean, it's like, it's incredible. But what they ended up with was, a rock that's kind of lopsided and whatever.
But I don't think that was. I'll bet you though. I don't feel like that was really his bone of contention. I don't think those are the things he would go like, "Hey, you couldn't afford to build the giant complex. I'm out." I think it was more of the
rewriting,
the rewriting, the taking plot points that he thought were very important and then completely changing them. And I could see how that would get
to be very uncommercial in his writing at times. Yeah.
Well, luckily he was spending so much time getting laid that he didn't have time for a lot of this stuff.
He did do well.
He did awfully well. Okay, I'm gonna tie this up with one last recommendation, only because I'm gonna honor David Cronenberg, who we haven't said enough about in this episode, but I'm a big fan of Cronenberg. I think he is one of those guys that's just, a one-off. He just.
Oh yeah, he's absolutely unique.
He is an oddball, and he's really in his own universe. I mean, I'm sure we could all pick a favorite, whether it's Videodrome or The Brood or whatever. Spy Kids. That guest spot he had on Star Trek.
All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Discovery.
So good.
But he's got a son called Brandon Cronenberg, who has made a handful of movies. And he did one a few years ago called Possessor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I really want to recommend this because it's crazy and it's really good. Tasia Voss, an elite corporate assassin, takes control of other people's bodies using brain implant technology to execute high-profile targets.
Cool.
Great cast, really interesting, and you can see that the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. But again, a Canadian film and really well done and very kind of disturbing in parts, but I recommend it highly.
You know, I just want to leave with an anecdote about Cronenberg that you guys might like. Is in the '90s, my friend Sean was getting into the makeup business, and he was doing a film, probably for no money, called Blood and Donuts, which is a Toronto vampire film. It's a fun film, and it was directed by Cynthia Dale's sister. If you've ever seen the movie, what is it? The aerobics movie. Oh, I wish I could remember.
Movie.
Yeah, Heavenly Bodies. Was that what it was called? I think it was Heavenly Bodies. It was
Yeah.
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 But the villain, we needed prosthetics. The actor playing the villain needed some prosthetics and had to go to Sean's house to do the casting, and it was David Cronenberg.
Wow.
And I remember that was a big effing deal.
Wow.
I could imagine.
And he was in Nightbreed. Was Nightbreed a Canadian movie?
Yeah, I don't know, but I do know that I think it's set in Canada, isn't it? But anyway, yeah, he's the doll eyes killer in that, and he's perfect in that because he's
great
so
in that.
clinical in it.
He's in my favorite Jason movie. Jason X or Jason 10.
Oh yeah, my friend Sean did that.
I fucking love that movie.
Oh,
He's
really?
He's in Jason 10?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. He's in the very beginning. Before
he's
Jason
like a
goes
college
into
professor or something, right?
Yeah, before they go, he's the guy who's in charge of, I guess, studying Jason because they've got him captured and locked up, and yeah, that movie is so misunderstood.
I just remember
I've said that about beaches for years, and very few people have come around. But I'm telling you, it's going to have its day in the sun one of these days.
You know what? It's my favorite Itchy and Pitchy too.
Well,
all right.
I think we've all learned something in this episode.
Have we?
Yes.
Yeah. About each other.
For the audience listening, I'm sure they've learned loads of stuff.
They're all asleep by now.
And what a piece of royalty to get as a guest with Matt Weinhold, who who has an encyclopedic knowledge of movies and horror and pornographic films and role play items in things. But he's
tools,
books about war.
Matt's one of those guys that
Starlost memorabilia.
Actually, you know what? I did miss one of the original ship models, one of the pieces, and I lost my I just couldn't afford it. But
wait! You mean a prop from Starlog?
Yeah, like one of the pods was for sale on eBay for a while, and it was just yeah, I think it was like $750 or something, but it was just but it's like, yeah, I'd rather have the $750, but what can you do?
I think Harlan Ellison would agree with you.
Well, yeah, but I do kind of I always thought the Ark looked cool. But
the Doug Trumbull stuff is amazing. Yeah.
Well, Matt, you're one of those guys that thank you so much for being on. You're
thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been a blast, man.
Many things, and I knew you'd be just perfect for this. And
thanks. And Brian, I've missed you.
I've missed you as well, sir.
And we need to just find a time where we can meet, maybe somewhere between our country and yours, preferably in your country.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah, and also let's just say we're doing this in honor of Canada as well because
I thank you.
Yes,
we love
absolutely.
Canada.
Yeah,
we are with you, and we love all things Canadian. So this is in honor of in light of recent events. Let's say.
Oh yeah, no worries, man. Okay, well, thanks everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And stop recording.